I'll be the first one to admit it. WWE, you got me. Hook, line, and sinker. I was going to start off with this SmackDown results video, giving my thoughts and opinions, basically telling you guys you actually believed Styles versus Shane was going to happen, and then SmackDown happened. Let's discuss the crazy night and how Randy Orton is back in the title picture in this video. So tonight's episode of Smackdown Live may be the best one since the brand split. Absolutely jam-packed episode that got everything home. And I'm going to say this one more time. Smackdown Live may in fact be the best show WWE has. And that seems like a pretty easy statement to make. But tonight's Smackdown was on point. Tonight's Smackdown hit home every key point they had to. And that's what you need to do. So let's talk about it. The show started off with absolute fire. The Miz versus John Cena with probably my favorite promo that they've ever done. It was absolutely spot on because you're harking on the reality of life. You're able to hark on things that people can relate to. Why did we get behind Stone Cold Steve Austin in the Attitude Era? It was because we all had that boss. Well, now you have that employee in the company, the guy that's up there that, why is he there? Well, I'm the one doing all the work. Miz is the one that doesn't get injured. Miz is the one that's always here. And John just comes back. But John came back with some fire. John came back and answered Miz's promo, which Miz's promo is absolutely fantastic on tonight's show. And I highly suggest you go watch it if you didn't get the chance. As he throws out everything John Cena gets. He's keeping Cena from talking. Cena's mic is shut off. Cena is not allowed to rebut. And he's just sitting there in the no fucks John Cena mode. And I said this last year. Probably said it 2 years ago. No fuck Cena is the best Cena you can get. Whether you love him or you hate him. But then he did more than that. He went deeper. And he finally, I think, connected with more fans tonight. You could hear it. And I have never been more excited for a Miz versus Cena match in my life. I've never been more excited for a Miz match in my life. Absolutely executed phenomenally. And as it was over and Cena drops the final line about Undertaker. Because Cena delivering truth. If Cena was the master manipulator, if Cena was the guy everybody says he is, that he can pull all the strings, why isn't he facing Taker? He brought that into a real life storyline that the fans do. I've said this once and I'll say this again. We are in the reality era. The stuff that we cheer for or want, it's going to be used against us. It's going to be brought back in and we're going to pop for it. Because they're acknowledging our thoughts and our feelings. And tonight, man, holy fuck. John Cena and Miz. But that's not it. Let's move on. So right at the end, Marie stops him. And then she slapped him. After saying a couple words. And John was just like, oh, you fucked up now. And comes Nikki Bella. I never thought I'd be more happy to see Nikki Bella. You know, when they first floated the idea of a mixed tag, I was like, I don't know. But then you wait for the story. You don't just hear what the match is going to be because it leaks. And you see the story. And the promo was fucking awesome. And that was just the start of the show. So let's move on. Mickie James taking on Becky Lynch. Now, in the match, is a 2 out of 3 falls. And near the end of the match, Alexa Bliss would come out after it was tied up 1-1, try to distract the referee as Becky hit a move and she was in a pin attempt. Ultimately, Mickie would knock off Alexa Bliss from the apron, and when she knocked her off of that apron, what happened? Mickie tried to hit a move, goes for the roll-up, and the disarmer for the win. Becky Lynch wins again. I would not be upset if we had Becky versus Alexa at WrestleMania because that's what SmackDown has been all year. If you think of the matches of the past, Rock and Stone Cold, those matches that they would have all year round, but then when time came for WrestleMania, when time came all year, it has been about, had Naomi not gotten hurt, you have Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. Again, kudos. But that wasn't it. Then you had promos, which, I'll be honest, the James Ellsworth promo with Carmella, I kind of laughed, the whole phony thing with Nikki Bella and John Cena. And then came time for the number 1 Contenders match. After Randy pledged his allegiance to Bray Wyatt brought him into the family. Luke was cast out. Now Luke is fighting to get into the Mania main event. And what happens? WWE pulls the major swerve. AJ Styles gets the pin. He hits the phenomenal forearm on Luke Harper. But Luke Harper's foot's on the rope, so you automatically assume, okay, Luke's going to win. But then they don't do it. As they're on the outside, he's standing on the outside. Luke Harper throws AJ Styles to the outside. Luke Harper runs up to kick him. He moves, nails Shane, and AJ capitalizes, throws him into the ring post, brings him back into the ring with a 450 for the pin. But it's still, and I tweeted out, I'm like, wow, bunch of idiots thinking it was going to be Styles versus Shane, because the show wasn't over yet. The story is never over. Even though I was complaining right then, and even though I was so happy right then and there that we were getting AJ Styles versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, what happens? The rug gets pulled from underneath him later on in the show, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I want to say, Luke Harper, he's been in WWE now for how long? After tonight, you see him do all this stuff. Luke Harper can go. Luke Harper is a phenomenal wrestler. The Tope Suicida, he can do a lot of amazing shit. And we're going to get to see that from Luke Harper finally getting the time to shine. So Luke, again, congratulations. So let's move on though. Then we had Baron Corbin and Dean Ambrose confrontation. Well, actually it was Kurt Hawkins versus Dean Ambrose, which went a little bit like this. I'm Kurt Hawkins, and I'm in the ring. I'm Dean Ambrose coming into the ring. Boom. It's the finish. It's over. Doesn't even do the match. And then he calls out Baron Corbin. And what if we said this whole time on SmackDown when Dean Ambrose was champion? He doesn't have it. He doesn't have that ability to be stone cold. He doesn't have that Attitude Era possibility to break out, to be a superstar. He's bland. He's boring. He's brutal. He just, And look what Baron Corbin, Triple H's guy, is doing. Baron Corbin, a guy in himself, faced John Cena, AJ Styles. He's moved up the rank. He was in the Elimination Chamber. He's being raised by association, doing some phenomenal stuff. And look what happens. He's not willing to come out and fight. Dean wants him. He says he's got 15 minutes because his parking meter is about to expire. And Baron says he just doesn't come when somebody calls his name. Which, side note, if anybody calls Baron Corbin's name and he comes out, I'm going to remember that point, and then I'm going to talk about it. But that's not the point. So we finally start to get a little bit more upset, angry Dean Ambrose, the Ambrose that everybody wants, and we're going to have to see where it goes. But was the show over there? No, the show wasn't over yet. We had a chairs match, which, I'll be honest with you, it is pretty cheesy in a chairs match when they set up chairs around the ring. It's like, it's one of those things like you try to explain to your friend about wrestling, and they're like, well, they set up chairs around the ring, and see what they do is they can use the chairs, and then somebody go like, why couldn't they just grab the chairs themselves? Why do they have to be set up? And you're like, it's a wrestling thing, shut up. So they have this match, and again, Dolph Ziggler, the man that couldn't win the big one at SummerSlam, the man that couldn't win the big one all year, the man that went down to the Intercontinental Championship and wanted to save his career but then didn't do anything with it. We're starting to see the new heel side of him in the last couple months, and finally tonight it fully exploits it. After beating down Apollo Crews and Kalisto at the pay-per-view like I said he would, he goes even farther, does every dirty trick in the book to get a victory over Apollo Crews in the chairs match between eye poke. He drops him throat first on the chair, and then he drops him eggs first, as Mauro Ronaldo called it, right on the chair and got the victory. So you were seeing a new side of Dolph Ziggler, one that finally we're getting some character development. Dolph Ziggler's been the same for the longest time. Even when he was heel, he was still pretty much the same. This Dolph Ziggler is a lot better, more entertaining. So kudos to you, Dolph Ziggler. But is the show over there? No. The show took it one step further on the perfect climb. Now, Raw is 3 hours and Raw's got to have filler. SmackDown feels great because it's fast, it's quick, but not tonight. Tonight, it was spot on, perfect show. Because in the main event, Bray Wyatt came out to talk. Bray Wyatt came out to speak. And Randy, who was given the keys to the kingdom, should be at Bray's, but he's not. He's where Sister Abigail is put, which, by the way, the barns don't look the same. And I don't want to nitpick that, but it is kind of different. But anyway, he's at Bray's place, and he's talking to Bray, and then he eventually brings out the pickaxe. You keep your friends close and your enemies closer until it's time. So in a big swerve earlier on, you thought AJ Styles was going to win. You thought AJ Styles was going on to Mania. You thought Luke Harper was going on to Mania. Well, guess what? Randy is pulling back in his opportunity. He won the Royal Rumble. So it doesn't matter if you're over the top rope and who hits first. It doesn't matter if you win a number one contendership. When you're in charge, you're in charge. Triple H, The Ultimate Control for Power. It's a book I'm writing, by the way. You should check it out. It's not out yet, but it's just making my book so much more perfect because guess what? Randy gets to swoop back in. Even though he gave it up and he gave a number one contendership, he's coming back. Now, whether it remains to be seen if we get a triple threat match, if we get just that match. Now, I really wanted Luke Harper involved. I think a triple threat between Randy, Luke, and Bray with Luke coming out on top would have been phenomenal. But tonight, Randy set the world on fire, literally, with Sister Abigail driving Bray crazy. Bray was going nuts. Bray was losing his mind. Bray was freaking out as Randy took gasoline to the burial, to the barn, to the site, to Bray's sanctuary that is Sister Abigail. He set the world on fire. And Bray could only sit there helpless. The man that was in control could do nothing to stop it. We saw a new side of Randy Orton tonight. And that side of Randy Orton is goddamn amazing. Bray versus Randy is amazing. And there's a reason I didn't talk about it in my Raw versus SmackDown because there's still more to the story. There's always more to the story in WWE. What happens one match may be affected later. So I don't know where WWE's going with this, but I don't even care because tonight SmackDown gets the Ty Dillinger treatment from Tubby Emo. It gets a 10. 10. 10. From me. Because in my opinion, you can't get a more perfect show than tonight's SmackDown. Tonight, everybody got elevated. Tonight, just like all year with SmackDown Live, everybody is getting a shot. Everybody's getting a chance to shine. Even with Apollo losing, he took all the dirty tricks from Dolph Ziggler to do it. SmackDown Live, one of the true treasures in the wrestling world. So until next time, it's your boy Tubby Emu. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you watched SmackDown, and if you didn't, please go check it out. It was an absolutely great segment. And in the main event, or the main segment at the end of the show, words can't even describe how awesome it was. It's great to be a wrestling fan. When wrestling is life, it's everything, man. My name is Tubby Emu, and until next time, we will see you all later.